Hello, WEB2DAY. How are you doing? I can't hear you.
Excitement in the air.
Yeah.
Yay.
Are you still napping or what? Okay. I'm really glad to be joined on stage by you three guys. Today we'll talk about growth. What can we grow as entrepreneurs, as community members? Are we talking about users? Are we talking about revenue, profit? How do you grow your team? Is growth something that is easy? Is it the only thing you should or are tracking in your daily business? The thing is also there is a heated debate in the startup community about growth. Some venture capitalists mostly have been really voicey about that for the last 2 years maybe. And we will try to see if there is or not a unique approach in Europe about that. So just for us to be a bit less shy, we know who we are, but we're only 4 of us. You're way more than that. So we'd like to know you guys better a bit. So maybe if we can have some light in the room. Who consider themselves as startuppers here in the audience? Could you please raise your hand so that we can know better a bit? Okay, so
3.
3 startuppers. Okay.
And 8 shy ones.
we don't dare to. Who's an investor, a venture capitalist or not? Are there some in the room?
Only shy ones.
Yeah, don't want to be disturbed. Who's a community animator? I don't know. Do you run a co-working space? Do you run a tech community of some sort? Okay. Who's a startup employee? Are there some? Okay. Okay, let's see what we can do with that.
Who are the rest?
I don't know. Maybe you can tell us better at the end of the session. We will have like 15, 20 minutes to know you guys better and answer your questions. So, today, here, who we are. Julie FOULON is the co-founder of Molengeek. You're also an innovation and hybrid spaces veteran. You've run several of them. Actually, you're also a minorities in tech activist, might I say that. Atta Gur is the co-founder and CEO at Fritzbit. And ERNESTS Stals, you're a member of the board at TECHHUB Riga and CEO and co-founder of DRIPIT.io. So I have a few questions for us to warm up a bit. Let's have an open art conversation about growth in the European tech ecosystem, like we could have at a co-working space, like it's Friday afternoon. You've celebrated the victories and the defeats of the week with your team, and we're having an open-hearted conversation, like no bullshit. We'll try to avoid that. You can find on Twitter some bullshit bingo grid I posted earlier so that you can help us keep on track about that. So my first question for all of you, as you want, in the order you want, what is your main current occupation? How would you define what you do on a daily basis? So maybe Julie first.
I'm going to start. So my name is Julie FOULON. I'm the co-founder of Molengeek. Molengeek is an incubator based in Molenbeek. So the idea is to give accessible new technologies and entrepreneurship to young people without any academic background, because the idea is to say that entrepreneurship and new technologies is just a question of mindset, and you don't need to go to universities to become a developer, and so on. So we created this huge space at the heart of Brussels.
How many members?
We've got like a community of 200 people after a year, so which is pretty good. So we've got 40 co-workers coming every day, and we created a coding school. So one class and of 20 students, and there's another one coming in June. It's not the only thing I'm doing, because I'm also involved in the Women in Tech community with my platform called Girlik. And the idea basically was to create a blog talking about new technologies for women, because men and women, we don't have the same perspectives about new technology, we don't look at the same things, and which is great. And that's why it's very important to emphasize this part of this point of view. And we would like also to, we are in the way to create an incubator for women in tech, and it's, don't worry guys, that will be male friendly, so you can join. And the last thing is I joined a team called ENA, European Emergency Number Association, and the idea, I'm like more like an advisor to set up a crisis tech program for startups from all around the world, and it will be based in Brussels. Voilà. Hyperactive, huh?
Yeah,
Ouais.
not doing anything of your days. Ernest, what do you do on a daily basis?
So I have two hats. One is I'm a sort of co-founder of Latvian startup ecosystem. So I try to direct that stuff. And there I have really female-only team. Basically I'm covering. So that's a really emotional thing. And then I have my own team, which is at DRIPIT. So we help online marketers understand their marketing performance across customer journey. And that's really male-driven, aggressive one. And so it's an interesting experience. The question about the success and failures in, on a Friday evening, I come from that part which is, you know, up north. We tend not to talk a lot with each other. So sometimes it's just like there's nothing happens. We just drink beer and suffer inside. But then when you get to closer, know each other, you start to like, slowly start to open up like a beautiful flower with your failures and successes.
Even so, for successes, you're that shy?
Well, success is always that wasn't me. It just happened. Success, that's when it boils down to you. I was responsible for all the success, all the failures, and success just happened. So one of the missions, what I try to do, I try to flip it. I try to persuade people to share stories, to go forward, and celebrate victories, and talk about the lessons learned with the failures.
Thanks. Atta, where do you come from and what are you doing on a daily basis?
Yeah, so I come from Istanbul, Turkey, and I run a startup called Frisbit. That's a marketing automation tool with web push notifications. And to your question about what we do in, at the end of the week, what we discuss with our co-founders is what we have done in that week regarding the product, and also in customer acquisition and account management. So if we won new customers, and how is it going, or what we have were not able to finish, any tasks that we have to do, but then we probably chill and go out and talk about the plans to what to do after. And yeah, we have also, just like you, Ernest, we are a team of 3 all male co-founders. But no, wait, so we have the first female team member joining us. So yeah.
To be a bit more precise, where are you guys based? Because we're in North France. None of us is currently based in France. So could you explain a bit what are the strengths and weaknesses of the place or the city you're based?
Okay, so I'm based in Brussels for all the activities I talked to about. The problem in Brussels is a very fragmented region. For the tech scene, I'm talking always about the tech scene. So you've got like a lot of people, it's very international, but people stay together with the same profile. So it's like like the very wealthy people, the very wealthy French people, they stay together in the same district of Brussels. The people from the European Commission, they stay together, and the young people from the North District of Brussels, they stay together. So everybody lives next to each other without talking to each other and without moving. You know, there's no social mobility. And so when at some point I was at the head of a huge network called Beta Group, and there was always the same people in the room. I was organizing every month huge events with around 500 people, and each time it was the same profile. People with who did higher studies, from middle class, upper class, and no students, no young people. And we know that innovation comes from young people. And so that was very important as a community manager and community leader to bring this new mind, this new energy to the community. And that's why Molengeek was so important, because we were able to break these mental barriers.
Okay, maybe do some of you know Brussels a bit and have been to Brussels? We have some residents, apart from Thierry. No, okay, two, three people. What is the specificity of the Molenbeek neighborhood?
But the thing is that people there, they do not recognize themselves in organizations and institutions that help startups. So it's very important. They do not recognize themselves in the tech industry because it's very elitist, because of the word we are using. It's really not accessible for these young people. So that's why that was so important.
Any tech companies before you guys?
Tech companies. No, they do not recognize themselves. They do think that it's not possible for them to learn new programming, because each time they want to enter to this world, they need to have done some minimum studies. But if you don't have any background, or if you quit school at 14 or 16 years old, it's done for you. Now you're out. And it's a shame, because new technologies is just a question of mindset. And nowadays, everybody, you all around you, in the room, you can learn how to code. And it's completely independent from what you've learned at school. So it's just a question of logic and mindset.
Okay, thanks. What does Riga, Latvia look like?
So historically, we have had really good technical talent. Basically, we can build whatever we think of. When it comes to robots, Latvian team has beat the Japanese team with the sumo robots for a couple of years. So, and then, well, that involves building hardware and machine learning algorithms in it. And so we can build a lot of stuff. And then we have historically had this design talent. So people can figure out nice furniture and stuff, and again, build that. But again, historically, we also have had this 50 years of occupation when people who were loud and outgoing, they were either shot or sent to Siberia. So that kind of sucks. And we don't have the talent which, well, goes out and sells stuff, who can package things and tell the story and bring that to the world. And those are the main challenges for us, to have this more capitalistic approach, not like we just have to learn how to sell better. That's the thing, and that's how we try to break that.
Atta, what about you? Because you are a bit of nomad these days, yeah. So Turkey, Istanbul, and Barcelona, right?
Yes, exactly. Maybe I can explain first in a geographical way, because maybe the audience doesn't know that, but Istanbul is a huge city. A city of...
How many people?
With more than 15 million, and plus the refugees. So we don't know exact number of how many the population of Istanbul. And so this makes the city even larger. and especially for example, for our startup, which we founded in Istanbul, with our co-founders. One of us was living like 1.5 hours away than us. So this forced us to find a way to work remote, even we were in Istanbul, because if he's coming to the office and goes back, so he's spending 3 hours in a day, and this is inefficient. So that's why actually in Istanbul, it's the transportation is an issue and the time that you spend. So what we also wanted to do was join an acceleration program, and we wanted to be together also physically all the days. That's why we chose another city. It was not Istanbul, it was Barcelona, where we were accelerated. And yeah, so these days we are doing back and forth. We are still based in Istanbul, but we are planning to open a new company also in Barcelona. And yeah, that's why I'm kind of nomad these days. And maybe one thing that I can share about how we did was regarding the task management and team management, even if we are remote, is that we do daily meetings rather than a weekly meeting every day. So which keeps us still motivated and aware of all the tasks that we have to accomplish for the day and for the upcoming days. So this was working very fine for us. So if any team, someone has to work remotely, this works fine. And maybe some more comments about Istanbul is that it's still a city of very quality developers, and but most of the support from different organizations, even from the state and corporations, is more on R&D for large companies. So there is still a lack for support for startups. There is of course one, but more is going to the R&D for the large companies. So for small startups in seed stage, they are still struggling.
Okay, thanks. Where are your main stakeholders, customers, community members based? Same city, different countries? What kind of larger community do you work with?
But for us in Molenbeek, it's obviously from people from Brussels, but we've got also people coming from the Flanders region, so on the north side of the country of Belgium, and also in Wallonia. We've got because it's free and it's open to everybody, we're super motivated. We opened the incubator even to people from the United States, Canada, and so on, Mexico, from all over the world.
What about you, Ernest?
So Baltic states are 3 small states, and so the companies which come out from that part of the world, we tend to think global since day one. So everything happens in English. As a community, we try to kick out people, and so we have really close collaboration with Finland, Estonia, and Lithuania, and then we have ties to Germany, UK, and now with France. And the whole point is kicking out people, but be like a home base where they can return and share their acquired network of contacts. And so they know if you need that, there's a really good guy in London, there's a really good chick in Helsinki. So that's how we try to operate. Because as a country, we are 2 million. Riga, which is capital, is 1 million. So now you have geopolitical insight about the region. So we are basically one city with half of the country. And if we look at the Istanbul size, then if we take Finland and 3 Baltic states, we are around 10 million.
The same size of Istanbul.
Well, we're a
Even
bit
less.
smaller, but that's like having a half of one side of the Baltic Sea is still smaller than one city.
Yeah.
And all 4 states, we have recognized that we have to collaborate on events and on a community level. So we work really closely.
And for you, Etta, from Istanbul, do you have now a network in Barcelona or just the accelerator community?
No,
And what about your customers also?
Yeah, so as we first started in Istanbul, most of our customers are from Turkey, but we have some customers also from Spain, Italy, and France. And this was because after the acceleration, we focused more on this region, and especially first Spain, then other European countries. And but still, we have both networks from both countries.
Okay, thanks. Okay, now we know you guys better a bit. Let's talk about growth and what does it mean for you? What are the main growth metrics you are using and why? And what are you tracking and why?
Alors, for us in Molen Geek, we're tracking for, how do you say that, assiduité, you know, when like people is very loyal to the community, comes every day, and
on a personal basis?
On a personal basis.
Okay, so our regular member is?
It's very important because and also we, for us it's very important that people that come to the coding school, you know, they come every day and they like what they learn. It's so we've got like metrics also on that, because it's very easy for us to say, okay, they finished the coding school program, okay, bon. But it's very important to make sure that they really enjoyed what they learned, and also that they are more independent and they can learn new things. You know, they've got all the tools. So for us, the fact they come every day and after that they continue to come to the community, it's very important.
Okay. What does success look like growth-wise? Do you have some percentage objective of adding new members, new students?
No.
Or is it about having the same ones staying in the community?
But you've got that also, but it's very important to have new members. But you have to understand that in Molenbeek, and we come from very far. You know, it's not like the regular startups profile. Some of them, they don't have any academic backgrounds, and they don't know if they are good, if they can do it, and if they can succeed. We have to break the mental barriers first, and then to give all the tools, so technical tools and entrepreneurial tools. So the way is a little bit longer, you know, for that. So that's why the incubation program is a little bit longer than on other incubator, because we've got all this work to do first.
Okay, that's true. That's also a question for Ernest afterwards, but let's stay with Julie first. You've been a community veteran in all the tech scenes you can find in Brussels and more. What does success look like for a community? Most of the times community is something that grows on a linear level. So what do you track, and what does success look like when you are trying to build a community?
Confidence. For me, it's for me a community. You know, a community as for me, what I track is the confidence rate. A community has to trust you.
How do you measure that?
It's very. It's when you change community. When you change communities, or when you start a new community, you can measure that. That if people follow you, if they follow you, it's because they trust you, and that's very important, because you can have like small community, a small community or a big community, but I think it's the most important thing to get their trust and to look after them, and to, as you say, open your network, because it's really important. Because if it's good for me, that will be good for you, and if it's good for you, that will be good for you as well. And it's a way to hire your community, and they will come back, and you know that you're here for them.
You connect very different kind of profiles in Brussels. How do you make sure those people talk to each other or start to build things to each other? You talked to me before, you said some of our students weren't aware they could go somewhere else and talk to the other people or just work from there. So how do you make sure the communities are growing together? Not only your community, my community, but something's happening for the whole group.
But at some point, you have to do a follow-up, because that's true. In Brussels, you've got a part of the population that do not recognize themselves in organizations and institutions that help entrepreneurs. So you really have to grab their hand and to say, okay, now you can go there. And maybe the first time you have to go with them and to make sure that, yes, look, that's a place for you. You know, if I'm here, you can be here, and it's the best way for you to enter to this world. So at the very beginning, you have to push them and to do a quick follow-up. Is what I do.
Okay, thanks. So that doesn't scale, right?
But it's a lot of work. Huh? You don't. I've got no life anymore.
That's a quick takeout. If you're looking for community growth, don't take it for granted. It's a long, hard work. Ernest, what do you track on a daily basis, both with your community hack and with your
like three levels. On a community level, I'm personally looking for new startups per year who are raising capital. That means that they have reached certain level where someone is willing to give money. And we are, as a TECHHUB, as a co-working space, in a broader sense, also as a community leader, we try to build a pipeline. So everything starts with monthly meetups where the shy Latvian can come over, and because they don't speak with each other, we give the networking tool they can hang. That's a beer bottle for free, so they can have the courage and the courage sip, and then they start to talk with each other, and then they discover that there's like-minded people around. Then we organize hackathons, so now you have this beer drinking community which wants to spend the weekend and build something, and then they have like second revelation, like, wow, random people can create this kind of stuff, great. And so then we, like a third level, we invite different kind of accelerator programs to come over and pitch their offer. So now you have beer drinking community which builds weekend projects, and now you can go somewhere and spend full time building it. And then the next layer is we have co-working space where you can return and work. And then we also influence the government to create legal framework for startups to have more easier life with tax discounts for small startups and soft loan programs. So that's the pipeline behind, and my KPI is looking for I count how many new startups per year are raising money. So that's community level. On my personal company, it's important. At this point, I'm interested in leads. How many people are really interested in stuff I do? But of course, the next level is actually the conversions. How many people are just coming every month and using the product? And on a personal level, basically, I try to look back a year and the level, how much I think I sucked last year. The bigger the difference, the better. It's like, damn, you sucked so much last year. That means that I have learned a lot during this year. And if it's like looking back and it's like, nah, it was all right, then it means that I haven't grown or haven't picked up big enough challenges. And recently it's been that I have looked back like 3 months and I realized that I have made some crazy mistakes.
Can I be a bit personal? As an entrepreneur, as a community leader, what kind of things are you trying to suck less at? What is important for you in that field?
Where?
What kind of things are you trying to learn better and be better at?
Oh.
Like precisely.
People stuff. And as a CEO, I have to deal with, I have to juggle a lot of stuff. Like, I have to find the clients, I have to organize the team, I have to deal with the on one side I have to deal with the female-only stuff where the community, they want to build an event, and then I have to be the strong guy which says, we have to accomplish this, that, and that, so let's focus there. And then I have to go with my male-only team where I have to calm down, guys. Let's focus on this one. Let's not be too aggressive and masculine here. And sometimes I think I have to mix them a bit around. And so those are the things. It's a sort of soft knowledge that you learn about other people, and most importantly, you learn about yourself. Like figuring out, okay, why I feel weird now in this situation? Because you screwed up. And it's like figuring out those moments, why you have mental discomfort, and finding answers so next time you just know why. So those are the main learnings I try to pick up.
Thanks. Atta, what are you tracking? What are you trying to grow?
Yeah, so maybe it's similar to Ernest's startup hat. So from the customer acquisition perspective, what we are looking for is the number of customers and how we acquired them, like which channels is converting more to the customers, how much of them starts free trials, how much of them convert to paid users, or and how frequently they are using the tool, so which makes the active customers. And for the customer success point of view, we are tracking how many notifications they are sending, and what are their subscriber base, and what is the click-through rate of their notifications, and how many sessions we create for them. So these are the metrics on more customer success side.
Anything regarding your team or personal accomplishments?
Well, so that's the hard part that I have to think. But yeah, it's similar stories, Ernest. We try and we fail, and then we try something new. So a lot of things we like. Maybe one story that we like. I am the business side of the team, and I have two other technical co-founders. I pushed them hard to do this the solution self-service as soon as possible, so that we can grow so fast, and so that there was no friction when we were getting new customers. But yeah, they managed to do this, but after that, the growth didn't boost, so, and they were looking back to me, why? And so, yeah, a lot of failures that you learn, but in the end, that's all you learn. And the next time, for the next iterations, you act wisely. Hopefully.
You try to. Now, there is something about the fact that we are in Europe, the continent. I live in a country that is not part of the European Union. You neither. So, is there a European touch regarding growth and the way we do tech also? Most of the scene, even today, I mean, we're talking in English because it's the lingua franca for all of us. Is there a way a bit different? We talked about history this morning together. We talked about how tech is learned or taught. Are we different that way, or is tech something that is already globally the same everywhere, in your point of view?
But in my point of view, we've got like a specific way to grow startup, and there's a new one. It's a very smart city approach when a bottom-up reach the top-down problem, and it's what we do at Molengeek and in Brussels. For instance, so we do organize also hackathon, a lot of hackathon, but the specificity is that we're trying to get a theme and to work on concrete problems and challenges. And so what we do, usually, like after the attacks of Brussels, we went to see Cécile Jodogne, which is the Ministry of Emergency Services, and we say there's a lot of Molenbeek bashing, and we want to contribute to the emergency services in Brussels in a way to give a very positive message. And so she was like, that's a great idea, let's do a hackathon, okay. So thanks to very institutional partners, we put around the table some stakeholders, and we, from the La Croix-Rouge, the Red Cross, the firefighters and so on.
Crisis specialists.
Exactly, and we said, okay, what challenges are you struggling with? So what are your main problem that we can fix in the IT sector? And then they gave us like 5 challenges, and the innovation was like, it was young people with no academic background, and then very super tech guys, because we've got also like super good tech guys, that were able during one weekend to create some application that will solve a problem. And it was a bet, and it was a success, because after a year we launched the first web app, in order to point the defibrillators all around Belgium. So because the firefighters didn't know where the defibrillators were, private defibrillators from private companies, they didn't have a list, and now through a map everybody can point them in order to save more lives. So very smart city approach.
Okay. Do you think there is a European way of doing stuff or growing stuff that is special?
I think we are reaching the point where everyone now has access to technology and to latest research, thanks to internet. Awesome, right? And it used to be that, tomorrow I will build a new, I will enter the metallurgy industry. It doesn't happen, right? It was really high ceiling to enter. So now everyone can enter with the technology side. So that's a good part. Go home, learn Python, become a hacker tomorrow, great. But then there are those things where you have to actually make and build the actual product which other people use. And that's some place where still we have differences. And I had a chat with Nordic Business Angel Association chairman, and he's a Dane from Denmark. And Danes, they are really outgoing and outspoken, but he's really humble, and he understands certain things about himself. And one thing he told, you know what, as a Danes, we are really good at selling stuff. We are not that good at building stuff. But then there are those Finns, and Finns are really like sort of gnomes. They can just dig and build technology, and then they're like Nokia. And then they build that magic, but they're really bad at selling stuff. So Danes go there and invest in their companies because they can bring in something what the Finns lack, at least for now. But then the Finnish government, on the other hand, they again recognize that they have to compensate for the lack. So they invest in all sort of initiatives which again kick out the people. Students go to summer camps and summer work to Silicon Valley, come back, and then they are inspired by wild Americans and stuff. So I think we become sort of more united. I come from Riga and I'm here.
Do you consider yourself a European?
Yeah, I think yes. And one good thing, I came here, I didn't turn on the roaming. So I'm just using the regular data plan, because now it's just flat. I have 3 gigs of free usage across the Europe. At least for my provider. Maybe it's different here, I don't know. But my provider promised that I have 3 gigs. Well, back home I have unlimited, but 3 gigs, you know.
This morning we talked about also history and the people of the sea. The fact that this continent, several nations are bordered by sea, and that is a different approach, maybe even for tech, even today. there is no such thing of maritime tech or something specific, but the way you approach stuff, do you think there is still a difference between Europe and the US, for example, in that regard? Is it something of the past that is long gone and doesn't have any influence yet?
Well, European market is still fragmented. Nations try to keep it to themselves, and not that many are traveling around and visiting other places and learning the weak and strong things in a region. And in US, of course, it's just one big market, and people are used to moving from Pittsburgh to New York and to San Francisco, then to Seattle in 20 years, popping around. In Europe, it's like, I'm from Latvia, so basically I live in Latvia. I'm from France, and I live in France. But now it kind of starts to change. Maybe UK, they always have been on their own, and they are back on being their own. But also visiting there, I see the same thing. They are like one big homologous market, and they kind of try to keep it to themselves, more looking to US, if I look from a technology point of view.
Thanks. Atta, the big question, as a Turkish guy, do you consider yourself European?
Yeah, I anticipated that question when you asked him. Well, for me, yes, I do. And and I think most of the people would still say yes in Turkey, but it may matter. But for me, I feel European. And to this question of if there is one common European way to do the startups, I see more similarities than the differences. I think it makes more sense if someone was able to visit different areas of Europe to be able to compare, and I think I can do this because I first started in Istanbul, and I also saw the scene in Spain, and I can say that it's quite similar. And I think most of the things matter is access to funding, especially in the seed stage. And I think most of the European startups are in this similar position rather than the American ones. So I think that's why they are more forced. The European startups are more forced to bootstrap and try to find new ways because they are getting the capital at a later time than an average compared to the American ones. So I think in that sense there is more similarities than the differences. Of course, the language is a barrier in for European startups, and they have to build multi-language support and everything in order to have similar size compared to their American parts.
There is a last question I'd like us to discuss, and then we're opening the questions to the room. Every time you say to someone that is not active in tech or in those communities, I'm building a startup, I'm trying to grow it because I need it, and you use this whole Paul Graham's approach to startups: high growth, high risk. That's what a startup could be. Sometimes it's not a common. Some people see other things when you say startup. Here in Nantes or in France, sometimes actually you're running a small business, and that's cool. There is nothing wrong about running an healthy small business. But if you're not naming yourself a startup, then you're a loser because you're not hype enough and stuff like that. Recently, the VC industry has been very vocal, as I said in the introduction, about what is a startup and go all in and be a workaholic and grow like crazy from one small team to hundreds of people in 6 months and stuff like that. What do you see as Europeans as our approach on that? Is there a European take on that? What is healthy or not in our old continent point of view? Because if you look to the US scene, anything that counts is how fast do you grow, revenue, profit. Nothing else matters or could matter. So do we have a different take? If you do tech in Europe, are you forced to have the same approach or not? What is your take on that?
But for my opinion on that is like it's very important to have like small companies and like a huge. The big tech companies, the huge companies, were small at some point at the very beginning, obviously. But it's also for us a way to create your own job. You know, like the employment market is so difficult right now that creating a startup, a small company, or whatever you call it, it's a way to get a job, to create your own job. It's, voilà, that's it. And that's why it's important. And after that, if you...
But you could become a contractor in the US terms of not a startup founder.
Wait.
So,
the idea is like it's entrepreneurship is the way to create your own job and to get money at the end of the day. That's it. After that, the growth you don't need to be the biggest on the market. You can take it cool and to have a nice company and to pay the wages of your employees, and it's fine. You know, it's just a question of point of view. But I think to have a lot of small companies, it's fine also.
So I look at I consider startups are those who are working on the edge of technology, and they are working either to create new industries like artificial intelligence drone thingy industry, or they are disrupting big industries like hotels or cars with Uber and Airbnb.
we promised to not use that word. So
yes.
What is disruption in your point of view?
But so the startups are companies who aim to really have those big moves. When they come in, they change the way how we live. But then there are really nice companies who are small and they get shit done. They make world better. They maybe don't change it, but they are good and they are profitable and they make money. And I don't think that the startup should be distinguished by, oh, you got funding, that's bam, 100K, you're now startup by building some kind of coffee shop. But that's not the point, and I don't think we should promote that way. I think startups are the ones who are really going after really high risk, high growth edge. And then there's, of course, sometimes you just, it turns out there's no that high risk and there's not that high growth. And then you're really reaching the plateau of growth really fast. And you're, from VC terms, it's an unfundable niche because VCs always look for the hockey stick. And yeah, and sort of the pendulum has gone to everything is startup. If you're not startup, you suck. Startups are awesome. Everything is cool. And I hope we can go back where we promote entrepreneurship as such, because the age of big corporations come to end in one way or another. And more people should think about entrepreneurship, small teams and working between each other, rather than going and spending next 20 years to work for a multinational juggernautic thing.
I live in Switzerland. Don't start me on that.
And when I go to Finland, for example, and I talk with some company, and they're like, yeah, we have been doing this and that and that, and then we worked with Nokia. And then I go to UK and I talk with companies, and they're like, yeah. And then we did something for BBC. And there's always that's one big thing somewhere. But what I hear more and more is that, well, it's past. Now we're doing our own stuff. And that's cool. That's what I think. The entrepreneurship matters. And it's not about that startup thing where there's small parts where people just go nuts by building crazy stuff and hoping that they can change the world.
But your two current companies are still very early stage, and some of your ventures are also. Can you piece off some VCs and say, okay, I'm a startup, I'm not a startup, maybe I will grow like crazy at some point, maybe I won't. What's your take on that?
So like to the approach of high growth in terms of approaching the VCs. I mean, what I've seen for now is, yeah, as Ernest also said, everyone is looking for the hockey stick, and if they don't see it yet, or they don't see the enough customer base, what they tell me is, okay, let's talk again in 3 months, so that you maybe update us with the metrics. So I think we can call it in startup or not. It doesn't matter in that way. But from the VC's point of view, what I realized is they're always looking for growth in a little bit more exponential way. But the answer to if a very niche cafe which is providing a unique value to their customers might be also a startup, because that's creating a new value that no one else is providing. So in the term, I think terminology is a little bit confusing. But for us, I know that we have to reach high growth. Because if we don't, our competitors might do, and they can get most of the market, and then we will be left with smaller parts of the market, and the investors may not invest us in that case. So it's more like chicken and egg. I have to show, it's one of the bullshit bingo, but I have to show the traction and that growth in an exponential way to get the funding, and then to do it in a more way.
Your current competition doesn't allow you to just slowly build something?
Well, I think it's another bullshit bingo, but it's quite disruptive. So this is because I think, especially in our area, it's what we are providing is the web push notifications, and it is what we have seen what happened with the mobile push notifications, and so we expect a similar pattern in the web push notifications, and maybe even at a maybe faster rate. So for us, that's why we think that we should act faster.
Okay, thanks. Like in a good co-working space, the time is flying. How many time do we have for questions? Do we have some? Tell me, guys. 1, 2 questions from the audience, or not at all? Do we have still time for that?
Are there any questions?
Yeah, are there any, for a start? If there's not. Thierry.
Thank you. Before my question, just 2 things. For people thinking that the roaming is off this week, it just started next week, so be careful. And we are 2
words... It started early in Latvia. I'm sorry from...
Damn, I hate you. And we are 2 words away from the bingo.
I'm really glad that someone's counting that.
Yeah, no, I'm counting it, and it's on Twitter. My question is, because we are talking about growth, and we are considering that a startup is successful when it's growing and successful, and we all know, unfortunately, that 1 in 10,000 startups only succeed and the rest just fail. So it means that if it succeeds, it's a big company. We mix it with entrepreneurship, and you said, Julie, that, yeah, entrepreneur, if they don't want to grow, they just don't grow, and they manage it well. So, my question is, why in God's name is growth so fucking important? Because if we just measure the success of someone on how many users, of how big he could be, and on the other hand we say, yeah, an entrepreneur just should be happy and have what he needs, then why growing is such an important thing?
I think growing is the natural progress. Sounds weird, right? Well, if you don't grow, then it's you don't move, and I think that's the most important part. It's having that internal and entrepreneurial challenge to grow. But then I would say that there's like a growing the business and going after the hockey stick, and I think those are the different challenges. Growing a cafeteria, nice. You're becoming successful cafeteria. your brand recognition is big. But then going from 0 to hero in 2 years, that everyone in the world knows your brand and you have changed your life, that's a different kind of growth.
Okay, so it's not a startup anymore, it's the company.
Sort of. But then it's personal growth again.
Okay, no, it's just because he asked me to ask a question. So.
Blame that guy.
Merci. Thank you. Thank you very much for your time. And yeah, have a cool end of the afternoon and hope you're still growing your projects.
Thank you very much.